welcome to today's video. My name's Stephanie and today I'm going to be reviewing Holo Taco's Purrfect Bday Party Pack. So this little collection is for this year's birthday release for Cristine, which was actually yesterday on October 17th. Fun fact, we share the same birthday. But yeah, apologies I couldn't get this up a little bit sooner. I was celebrating my own birthday, but here we are a day late. And I'm really excited to show you these beautiful polishes. The first three that I have here are the Birthday Magnetics, and then the fourth one is the Cracked Taco Shell, which released earlier this month, and I will be showing a little swatch of that. And also launching with this release is their new cuticle oil pen. So as always, I will save more of my thoughts at the end after comparisons. For now, let's get into the swatches. The first shade is Menchie Cat Eye, and it's described as a sage green polish with white gold magnetic shimmer, a delicate scattered hollow sparkle, and a bright green shimmer as well. So even though the magnetic shimmer is described as white gold, I guess being in the green base almost gives it a yellowy or chartreuse kind of color to it. And if you know me, you know I don't usually like chartreuse, but I thought this one was so pretty. I think the sage green base really does shine, and I guess just knowing that it's literally inspired by Menchie's eyes makes it even more beautiful and sentimental. The formula on this one was really nice. It was really smooth and full coverage on the first coat alone, so I only needed 2, but I could see a hint of nail line, so I think some people might want to do a third for this one. It magnetized really easily for me holding the magnet under my thumb, but I also wanted to show how these look with a velvet effect, which is usually my preferred way to wear magnetics. So the way that I do it is that I hold the magnet to one side of my nail while I paint the first coat, and then I move it to the other side and back again if necessary. So I think this one did have more of a subtle velvet effect. Like, it's obviously pretty apparent when you see it next to just no effect at all, but it wasn't as shifty or shimmery as other polishes. Either way, I still think it's pretty. I just prefer the cat eye. Next we have Zyler Cat Eye, and this is a warm orange copper polish with pale copper magnetic shimmer, a delicate scattered hollow sparkle, and red-orange iridescent shimmer as well. So I knew that I would love this one right away. I'm just such a fan of this coppery orange shade, and I think it's so warm and cozy, especially for this time of year. This one had another great formula too that was really full coverage on the first coat, so I think this would be a solid 2-coater for most people. I personally found it just a little bit more opaque than the last shade, but it also can depend on your application. If you do thinner coats or have longer nails, you still might need a third for this one too. But yeah, this one looks super stunning, almost like a light tiger's eye kind of color, especially with the cat eye effect, which is just so beautiful. And no surprise, I really love this one with the velvet effect. I feel like the shimmer just has this strong glow that makes it look lit from within. It is so gorgeous. And the last birthday polish is Cool Cat Mom, and this is a deep royal blue polish filled with a shifting magnetic shimmer that goes from pink to green in extreme angles, scattered hollow glitters, and blue reflective glitters. So this is one of those shades I would say looks like a galaxy in a bottle. I just really like the contrast of the pink shimmer against the dark blue base. It almost gives it a kind of purple or indigo feel to it. And you can probably see that this one was a tiny bit more sheer for me on the first coat. And I would say it did feel a little thicker than the last two as well. Maybe because of those reflective glitters, which kind of give it a slightly gritty texture. So I did end up doing a thicker second coat and basically got it opaque. I unfortunately just moved the magnet a little too much, so you can see the magnetic stripe isn't as crisp, but it still looks good. And here it is with flash, so you can see those reflective glitters. And lastly, here it is with the velvet effect and no effect, where it's just applied straight out of the bottle. This obviously is going to give you a lot of that pinkish purple shimmer, so it covers up a lot of the blue base. So even though this is now unfortunately sold out, I still wanted to show Cracked Taco Shell, which is pretty much your standard black crackle polish. So I used Hot Take with Scorched Earth on top of that as my base, kind of similar to that magma effect that Cristine did recently. Then I painted a layer of the Cracked Taco Shell and just waited to watch the magic unfold. So this is real time. You can see because I did a slightly thicker coat, I'm kind of getting bigger, chunkier pieces and not as many cracks or lines. So if you did want that, then obviously do a thinner coat. And also you can see it kind of dries down to a matte or almost rubbery looking feel. So if you don't like that, then obviously apply some top coat. And finally, here's a look at the nail oil pen, which comes with an empty pen and an oil cartridge. So the pen is black plastic and has a little window to show you how much oil you have left, and it has this brush tip, which mine was super stiff and pointy, so it like kind of hurt at first. And then here's a look at the refill cartridge. This one also comes with a little cap, which has that hole where the oil will come out of. So you just slide it into your pen. There's like these little notches to line it up properly. And once it's in, you can press the pen down kind of like a button to get the oil out, but I'm twisting it to the side quickly just to kind of see how it closes or locks. There is still some pushback, but yeah, obviously not as much as when it's fully open. So you just need to press it a couple of times and then the oil will eventually come out. You probably just saw it spurt out at me. So I know they said it was mess free, but maybe not the very first time that you use it. And yeah, I wasn't rough enough with my bristles, so it still was super stiff here. So as you can see, if you end up clicking the pen a lot, you'll definitely get a lot of oil out, but once you massage it in, it does absorb fairly quickly. Now getting into comparisons, I wanted to show Menchie Cat Eye next to Wicked Potion, which is the green magnetic from last year's collection. This is obviously a wildly different shade of green where it's just a lot darker, more of a blackened base. And here it is next to ILNP's Frankie, which just came out earlier this month. This one is definitely a lighter green, but it's still not as yellowy as Menchie Cat Eye is. So you can see that chartreuse sort of leaning color to it, especially in the shimmer. I tried to do the magnetic stripe for both of them so you can see that deeper kind of green sage color in Menchie, but it still doesn't compare. Then for Zyler Cat Eye, I wanted to show this next to Fairy Tale from that same magnetic collection last year. This one is obviously a much darker and more true brown shade as opposed to how coppery and orange Zyler is leaning. If anything, the shimmer is the most similar, but a closer comparison I have is ILNP's Fawn, which came out earlier this year in one of their spring collections. This is another really light brown that kind of leans on that coppery orange side. So they definitely are the most similar that I have. They're not quite dupes though. I would say the base in Fawn is a little bit more of a true brown, while it leans a little bit more orange in Zyler, and the shimmer is a little bit more orangey in Fawn, while it looks more of a golden copper in Zyler. You can definitely see the difference in their shimmer when applied normally without any type of magnetic effect, so they're definitely similar vibes, but not dupes. And then lastly for Cool Cat Mom, I wanted to show this in between Twice in a Blue Moon and A Queen's Curse, which are the other two magnetics from last year's collection. It kind of looks like Cool Cat Mom is the perfect in-between shade, but again, it has a blue base, so it actually is more similar to Twice in a Blue Moon than it is to Queen's Curse. But once you see them on the nail, they're definitely not dupes at all. They're really different. Cool Cat Mom definitely leans a lot darker, where it's like that navy, royal blue, almost indigo leaning base with an obvious pink shimmer. So that wraps up my swatches and comparisons for this year's birthday release from Holo Taco. So as always, I would love to know what your thoughts are on this release, or even just the cracked taco shell that came out earlier this month, because it's been so interesting to see a resurgence in this like cracked topper. I never was such a huge fan of it, especially years ago when it was like first, you know, around and popular, but I am kind of having fun with it now. But even though I am enjoying it now, I wouldn't want to really see more of it. But yeah, you'll have to let me know if you are wanting to see like a whole rainbow of cracked taco shells, or if you're just like so over this trend and you don't want to see it come back at all. Let me know where you stand on that. But as far as the actual birthday polishes, the magnetics I think are so pretty. I definitely do love the first two the most. And I was a little disappointed with Cool Cat Mom because when I watched Cristine's stream, I was like, oh my gosh, this is like such a beautiful polish. But then when I swatched it myself, I feel like it was a little flat. It could also just be like our difference in lighting and camera setups, but I still think it is like a pretty polish. Like I love the combination of like the blue, the purple, the pink, and even like the green in extreme angles. It's definitely a pretty shade, but I'm definitely more of a fan of the first two. And as far as the cuticle oil pen goes, I know that's been pretty divisive, mainly because of the price, where I think I would agree in saying that it is pricey for the ingredients. Like you can get pure jojoba oil for super cheap and get a lot more for the same amount that you would pay for like this pen or for the refillable cartridges. So obviously if that's what you already do, then nothing is gonna beat that in terms of price. I think this pen is really gonna appeal to obviously like a lot of new people who aren't super familiar with like nail care, and this is like, you know, a very entry-level way of getting into it, but also to people who just don't want to make their own oil, whether they don't have the time, the space for everything, or they're just too lazy to do it. Like you're obviously paying for the convenience of having this refillable cartridge pen. But I think it is kind of a shame that like the refillable aspect is like, you know, the positive or like the convenient side of it, but I feel like it's also kind of the downside of the pen because we can't really refill the cartridges ourselves. Like I've seen some people say they're gonna try to like MacGyver a way to do that, and honestly I probably would try it myself too, because I would prefer to refill it myself as opposed to just buying refillable cartridges. I just feel like it's pretty wasteful to have these like refillable cartridges that can't be like reused or recycled. And I know Cristine initially didn't want to just put out like a regular cuticle pen because of how wasteful it was. So it's kind of interesting to see that, you know, she went with this route because it's still wasteful in my opinion. I'm hoping that they are still going to be working on like a better solution for this. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the release. So again, I would love to know yours down below so we can chat about it. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.